Hometown Discoveries Las Vegas is a local weekend morning show featuring the people, events, and companies that make Las Vegas the place to live, shop, work, and play. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. We're here on the amazing campus of Vegas PBS this weekend. When you think of public television, if you think of Big Bird and great documentaries, you would be right. But Vegas PBS is so much more. And we'll be meeting some amazing people to tell you about their programs and how you can take advantage of them. Our first guest this morning is Tom Axtell, General Manager.
We still have a television service that viewers support, but now we have online education services that educational institutions pay for.
Before we meet Tom, let me share with you what else we have in store for you this morning. Linda Ward has home mortgage advice along with a few gardening tips for us. We'll get a preview of the upcoming Mid-Century Modern weekend. Our pharmacist answers a few questions posted on our website. And we have a couple of surprise guests that have been working hard to deliver easily accessible job training. Now let's meet Tom Axtell, General Manager of Vegas PBS. So Tom, thank you so much for inviting us into this great studio here. We really appreciate it, and you're such a wonderful hometown discovery. And I've known you a long time,
Yes.
but I'd like the audience to get you to know you a little bit better. Tell us about yourself first.
About myself, well, I got out of college and was a swimming coach for a while, and then started my first job in public radio and bumped around in a lot of Midwest cities, Minneapolis and Fargo and Milwaukee, and went out to Pacific Northwest, became a manager for the first time in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, ran a PBS station there, and then came down here about 18 years ago to run the station here.
Wow, 18 years. So you've seen a lot of changes.
Yes, I've seen many of the landmarks in our city rise from nothing and grace the skyline.
Yes, and a few of them that were the skyline are no longer.
When I moved here from Milwaukee, they were arguing whether or not they could have another 200-room hotel downtown to support their convention business. And I came here, the first week I was here, they blew up the Hacienda with 600 rooms. So it was just shows you the difference in mindset between the two communities.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, so there are a lot of myths and misconceptions about public television. And I wondered if you could maybe just share with us, what do you do?
Well, when I came here, we were a public television station. We did what everyone thinks of us as having done from the 1950s all the way through the 70s. We did educational programs for kids. We did a little arts and science and public affairs and performing arts in the evening for grown-ups. But then the 90s were a period of rapid change in America. You had cable that went from a few channels to hundreds of channels. You had satellite-delivered television services. You began to have VCRs and then DVDs and then digital recorders. And people didn't have to necessarily tune into a show at a specific time. And students didn't have to watch a full 30-minute show. They could watch a 5-minute clip. And so the period that I've been here has been this period of ferment in the television industry. And with public television has said, well, if our goal is to serve education, it doesn't have to be with 30-minute shows anymore. It could be just a 5-minute clip that illuminates a battle in the Civil War or describes a new science project. And a teacher can teach the class the way that teacher wants, but then can bring in, via the internet, a 5-minute clip that illustrates a double helix or something of that nature. And the visual is part of the teaching that assists different kids who have different sorts of learning styles. So what we've done is said, how can we serve all of those program genres that we've had, but can we do it in a way that uses all the new technologies? And so public television, we still have a television service that viewers support, but now we have online education services that educational institutions pay for. We have outreach activities that are supported by nonprofits based on our TV shows. We have online training for what used to be over-the-air educational television, but now it's moved to the internet. So it's really this diversification of service into all the new technologies, and that's what public media is today.
So you talked about online. We're going to meet later with some of your staff here about online, but I would guess that most people don't realize that public television is attached to the school district. You made that leap, but I'm not sure everybody knows that.
Well, in the 1960s, 1950s, the Russians, launched Sputnik, and President Eisenhower said, we need to use all the new technologies to allow our school children to be competitive both in the business environment and from a national defense environment. And so the federal government began to give 75% equipment grants to any educational institution that wanted to have an educational television station. And the Clark County School District applied. Kenny Gwynn personally wrote the grant that got the grant money in to pay for our first set of equipment. And then during the Kennedy and the Johnson years, funding for programs began to become available from the federal government. Now we only get about 7 or 8% of our revenue from federal funds. We get no more tax money for equipment and so on. So we've pretty much privatized those services, but there is still some federal money that comes in. The school district, so is our licensee, but in the 1990s, because of another state budget crisis, was unable to fund us. So they eliminated all funding for operations of public television in 1996, and they eliminated all support for equipment in 1999. So we've essentially been privatized. If we deliver a service that their teachers use in a classroom, they'll reimburse us at cost for that.
Yeah, and nobody really likes to think about that background. We just want to see the great programs that you provide, watch the great concerts. We were just talked about the arts, and you shared with us the Smith Center.
Well, we had a great arrangement. When they were still building that building, Myron Martin and I said, wouldn't it be great if we could get your opening night show on the national PBS? And so we brought the president of PBS here. She was in town for the dedication of this building, and we took her over to the Smith Center, and she got a hard hat to her. We talked about that vision for the arts, and that we hope that we could create a live from the Smith Center program that would have 4 to 6 shows a year from our community that would be seen nationally, just like Live from the Met and Live from Lincoln Center and some of those other staples you see on PBS. And our first one was this month when we were able to broadcast opening night of the Smith Center. More than 1.5 million people around the United States watch that program. We think it helped define our community for people in other cities as a class town with fine performing arts. I've seen over 50 newspaper articles and reviews about the program. They've all been positive. They've all talked about this renaissance of the arts in Las Vegas. Not that we always didn't have great arts and performers on the Strip, but something about that formal performing arts center that isn't associated with a resort is the extra thing that we now have in our community. And it's getting great reviews, and we're so happy to partner with this organization to tell the story of our community the way you like to do it on your show. What are these great discoveries and the great things that are really here?
Absolutely. That is such great news that when you told me earlier, I didn't realize it had gone out nationally. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, we think we had 840 times as many people see it on the national broadcast of public television as saw it opening night at the Smith Center.
Wow.
Some of those people are folks in our community who might not have been able to afford a ticket, or one of the members of their family is out of a job and that was just too much for, but they really wanted to be there, and now they could share it. I mean, that's exciting, and we know that it inspires young kids. Every little kid loves to stand up and pretend they're conducting the orchestra, but
who
some of them
hasn't
decide
done that?
to play the violin, or they pick up a piano, or they're inspired by the singers that they see. And television, public television, validates the arts and creates new audiences for the arts when people see great performances.
Wow. Well, Tom, I have so much more to ask you about, and so we're gonna talk to you more tomorrow on the program.
Great.
But before we go, I have to ask you, what is the biggest myth about public television?
I think there's two. One is that we're mostly dependent on tax funds, and we aren't. It's mostly on donations and fee-for-services. Overwhelming source of our revenue are from those. And the other thing is that we're just television. We didn't freeze the way we deliver programs in the 1970s. We're not, When color came along, we added color. When DVDs came along, we distributed programming that way. We're very active on the internet. And I think that's the myth that public television has confined itself to over-the-air television. We still serve education and public safety and public health and the performing arts and discussion of public issues, but we do it in all of the mediums that our scientists have created.
Now, you mentioned public safety, and so we'll talk more about that tomorrow. I can't wait to hear about what you're doing for Homeland Security, what you can share with us, that is.
Well, most of it we can share.
Yeah, thank you,
it's
Tom.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's great.
a lot, Debbie.
Want more hometown discoveries? Check out our Facebook page and hit the like button. We'll be posting behind-the-scenes photos and comments that we want to share with you. Now let's go to Linda Ward at Red Rock Mortgage with some interesting advice for us on mortgages and gardening.
I've had several questions over the past, I don't know, as long as I've been doing loans, but I'd like to address some of the questions that are pertinent to current issues. Is it possible for me to refinance my home when I'm underwater or I have no equity? Well, we've addressed that in several other of the hometown discovery episodes, and yes, there are several options. One is the HARP 2.0 refinance, and that's where your loan is with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. The other option is if you currently have an FHA loan. That refinance is called an FHA Streamline. As well, we do not care about the equity and no appraisal is required. So no appraisal is required on the HARP 2.0 program or your FHA Streamline. Finally, I would like to talk about bankruptcies. This is the most asked question right now. If you filed a Chapter 13 bankruptcy and you are going to go with an FHA loan, you will have to have 12 months during your Chapter 13 of a good payment history, and you also will have to have had reestablished credit. Now, if you have filed a Chapter 7 and you want to go FHA financing, you will need to wait 2 years from the discharge of that bankruptcy. Now let's talk a little bit about conventional financing if you file bankruptcy. You will have to wait 4 years from the date of the discharge to go with conventional financing. Now let me just add to that, there are other specific guidelines, but those are the basic guidelines. Now if you have placed a home in your bankruptcy, there are other guidelines to that. And what I recommend is that you give me a call. We can go over all of the details. But those are just some of the questions that have been asked recently, especially in this market. Where do people go? How do they find their financing? So I hope to be able to help you. Just give me a call at my office, Linda Ward, 320-9595. Hi, I'm Linda Ward with your gardening tip for the week. As you know, it's fall, and this is a perfect time, the second time of the year that you can plant all your fall vegetables. Let's talk about seeds a little bit. I have brought radish seeds and carrot seeds. I'm going to plant both of these in my fall garden this year. And on the back of a seed package, it gives you all of the information that you will need to plant. Follow those directions. I usually overplant, it's just a little tip. And then when the seedlings start to come up, I actually take them and I snip the extra ones when I'm thinning the garden bed. So if I have extra carrots that are coming up or extra radishes that are coming up in the garden bed, and it looks like they're overcrowding, I just go along and I snip those seedlings off till I have the bed just the way I want it so that I know they're not overcrowding. Then all you do is sit back, keep the bed moist, watch for your vegetables to grow, and then when it's time to harvest, harvest it and enjoy it. Till your tip next week. Happy gardening.
If you have a question for one of our experts, you can contact us on our website at hometowndiscoveries.com. Have you wondered how a city like ours that is rich with so much history could just blow up its old buildings? If you've thought nothing built mid-century was still standing, think again. There are so many mid-century modern homes here, we spend a whole weekend celebrating. Organizers of the upcoming Mid-Century Modern Home Tour share details about the weekend of festivities you won't want to miss.
I'm Caroline Muse Grant, co-founder of the Architectural and Decorative Arts Society, otherwise known as ADAS. We are pleased to host our third annual Mid-Century Modern Weekend, October 26, 27, and 28, celebrating mid-century architecture and lifestyle. Our events include a Friday night sock hop with live music, fashions, and great fun. On Saturday, we'll have a symposium with experts on design and lifestyle. And on Sunday, we conclude with a 4-hour double-decker bus tour of the iconic mid-century neighborhoods here in our great city. For more information, visit our website at www.adas-lv.com, or you can contact me directly at creativemuse@cox.net.
What's your favorite Las Vegas discovery? Follow us and tweet with us at HometownD. Up next, our local pharmacist tells us how to recognize signs that an allergic reaction to your medication requires a 911 call.
Allergic reactions to drugs can be very, very serious. So we need to really be aware of some of these signs and symptoms, because at the first sign of these symptoms, you really need to call 911 because they are very serious allergic reactions, and you're going to need professional medical care. When we take a medication, it's in our stomachs and it's absorbed into the bloodstream, and this is what we call a therapeutic peak blood level. Now, this absorption can take anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour. So we want to be very cautious of what's going on in our bodies during this period of time, because this is when an allergic drug reaction is going to occur. Now, the symptoms of that is going to have a swelling and tightness around the chest and throat. You're going to have a rapid heart rate. You're going to have a low or a high blood pressure, and your pulse rate might be weak. It might even be rapid. If any of these symptoms occur at any time, you need to call 911 immediately. And the blood pressure and your pulse rate are very important. And that's why I always recommend that every household should have a blood pressure monitor. And every family member should be instructed on the proper way of using that monitor. Because when you do call 911, the operator there will really find that information very helpful, as she knows what your blood pressure is and what your pulse rate is. And the new meters now will provide that information on a digital scale, very easy to read. So I highly recommend that you always have a blood pressure monitor in your home that's readily available. Again, I want to thank you all for watching. Next weekend, I've had several questions come through on our website that I'm going to answer on our show. So again, thank you for watching Hometown Discoveries, and remember, your health is priceless.
If you're thinking about outdoor activities now that we're heading into our cooler weather months, check out the biking and hiking trails across the valley. Previously on Hometown Discoveries, you heard from Branch Whitney, local author and hiking expert. You can see all our past programs on YouTube. You can even subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/hometowndiscoveries. Park and ride bus stops with express routes across the valley are making it easier to get around fast for both work and play. We're out here at the West Cliff Park and Ride, with Tom Perigo. And Tom is a regular commuter on the RTC buses here going downtown, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, before we talk about your job and why you're going downtown, tell us a little bit about yourself, Tom.
Well, I've been a Las Vegas resident since 1991. Moved here from Colorado to go to graduate school at UNLV, got a master's in economics, and eventually found my way to employment with the city of Las Vegas. And happy that we've raised 3 children here, 2 of whom are now off to college at UNR, and 1 is at West Tech out on West Charleston.
So tell us about your commute.
Well, it works out really great for me. I ride my bike. I live about 3 miles from the West Cliff Station, so I can ride my bike down here, lock it up, get on the bus, go into work, and then when I come home, I ride my bike home. So for me, it's a very self-serving endeavor to ride the bus. I save money. I notice immediately a reduction in the amount of money I spend on my gasoline for my car. So I save a lot of money. It's quicker, especially with the new express lanes that have opened up. It's a lot quicker. I don't sit in rush hour traffic. I'm on the bus whizzing by all the cars, and that's really great. So there's a number of things that really work well for me. It's I get exercise as part of my routine now. I save money as part of my routine. I'm engaged with other people, and I feel like I'm sort of giving something because I'm reducing demand for fuel, which, it's a very small part, but it's something that's personal to me, where I'm reducing emissions, I'm reducing pollution, I'm reducing demand on fuels that's creating conflict in the Middle East and other places that puts, our people in hazardous situations. So there are a lot of reasons for me, and all of that adds up to sort of personal well-being for me. So I'm very excited to have the opportunity and really grateful that we have these express routes that makes it so convenient that I can do all those things.
That's great. I bet you arrive at work a lot less stressed, too, than driving in rush hour traffic.
Well, I have to tell you, I tend to sometimes be a little competitive as a driver, and so taking that stress off of me is a huge benefit. I get into work in the morning, and I'm relaxed and ready to go. I have my coffee, and on the way home, too, I'm not fighting the rush hour, so I'm taking care of those end-of-the-day emails on my BlackBerry and getting all that stuff done. So I get home, I've had my exercise, I'm relaxed, I'm ready to enjoy my family and do things at home, and it's just a great experience for me.
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us before you head off to work, Tom.
No problem.
Now let's meet the people responsible for helping us develop new skills to find new jobs through the job training programs at Vegas PBS. Thank you, Deborah and Ray, for joining us today. I'm so excited to share your programs with our audience. Deborah, tell us a little bit about your job. Now, we're going to have you on tomorrow again, so you're going to be, a regular on our program this weekend. But tell us about your position here and why you brought Ray in to talk to us.
Well, I am here at Vegas PBS as the Director of Workforce Training and Economic Development. So my job is really to identify programs and services that add value to our community and kind of add capacity. Short-term programs and long-term programs to retrain people for today's jobs. Oftentimes, what we're looking at is some short-term just to get into certification, like I have Ray here because of the food safety training. We're the platform and the vehicle in order to serve his needs within his organization. So we're really looking at adding capacity to the training system, but also to our organizations in order to help them fulfill their missions.
Oh, that's great. And so, Ray, tell us a little bit about your position and what you do.
I'm the health card supervisor, and I've been on board since about 2003 and seen the program go from a very basic system to a more advanced computer system. But one of the things that's remained pretty static throughout the time I've been with health cards is the fact that our food safety training has always been this 1-hour movie. And, severely lacking was the fact that we couldn't update it, we couldn't assess people to see if they've learned any material. So I think it's one of the biggest opportunities we've had to actually get some good food safety training, which is the whole core of our program.
And so how many people in Las Vegas use or need health cards here?
Well, let's see, we do over 100,000 a year. And so right now, since we've had the online training going, we've been averaging more than 10,000 clients per month.
Oh my gosh, what business is serving outside of our tourism industry, serving 10,000 clients a month? How do you do that?
Well, the beautiful part is the platform. It's e-learning anywhere you have internet access, and the interesting part about the training that I have learned is there is not an hour during the day that we don't have new enrollments. And so when people get off their shift, if they can't sleep at night, early in the morning, literally every hour of every day we have we're doing over almost 100 a day. That's a lot of students.
And so tell me a few job examples that need a health card that maybe aren't the typical. We know someone working in a kitchen is going to need a health card, but there are other positions that...
Surprisingly, the ones that are doing the online training are the food handlers and the childcare employees. We also have other people in fields like massage therapy, barbers, reflexologists, the body art clients who would be like tattoo, body piercing, and permanent makeup. Those are some examples where they're surprised, oh, they have health cards for that.
Is there any advice you would give someone who's watching the show today about training, about how to access the training?
Well, I think first and foremost is definitely go to our website, www.snhd.info, or if you feel like typing, www.southernnevadahealthdistrict.org, and there is a link on there that says health cards, and then within that page there is another link for the food safety training. That way they're sure they're going to the correct training, the one that's approved, and the one that PBS is hosting.
So tell us about your continuing education credits.
Well, we partner with a lot of interesting organizations, one of them being our Area Health Education Center, operated out of the University of Nevada, Reno. And we offer on a customized subportal training, continuing education training credits, or CEUs, for nurses, doctors, social workers, pretty much anyone in the medical industry. And again, that's through a customized portal, and tomorrow you'll be talking to me about some other things with some other sub-portals that we have. But that is really convenient. It's taking off because individuals, typically training is available, but it's place-bound. This is available when you need it, where you need it, at the time you need it, so that you don't have to take time off and go someplace. You can do it at the convenience of your own office or home.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you being a hometown discovery for us.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for discovering us. That's great.
Wow, we have learned so much today. It's hard to believe there is so much more to see and learn here at Vegas PBS. We'll be back here tomorrow, and Tom Axtell, General Manager, has even promised to tell us about his favorite program. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. right here on KTUD Vegas TV, Cable Channel 14. Join us for the best ideas on living, learning, working, and playing in Las Vegas. We'll be right here on KTUD Vegas TV every weekend morning, and we are so excited to share our hometown discoveries with you.